I'm going to ramble today about essential data for fintech startups. And before I dive into that, let me frame it a little bit. So there are lots of different types of fintechs out there. There are fintechs in the banking space, fintechs in lending. They're all over the place, and they do all kinds of things. And I tend to think about fintechs as being investment focused because that's what I do, and that's what Intrinio does. Is we help provide financial data to fintechs that they're building into applications. So I'm a little bit biased, and I'll just get out there and admit that, like, if you're a banking fintech, there might be some different data sets that are essential for your startup than what I'm going to talk about today. So I'm talking about data that fintech startups need, and specifically the fintechs that are working in the investment space. And so the most there's basically the most common thing that we see, and we have 1,000 clients, have had, and worked with thousands and thousands of these fintech startups, is that they almost always have a secret sauce. Like, you can go out and recreate Yahoo Finance, great. Maybe you'll do a little bit better, but you're not going to displace Yahoo Finance or make a lot of money. You need to do something different and special. And most of the fintech founders that I speak with, you meet some of them on this show. We talk to dozens of them every week. They know something. Maybe they have an algorithm or a way of analyzing a portfolio or risk or an idea for something special. And that's cool. Nobody else has it. It's very unique to them. And the kind of data that is needed for that special thing is probably going to be custom. Whatever it is, maybe you have to go out and source it and find it. And we've been amazed at some of the things that our clients have created over the years, and they're using that special sauce to differentiate themselves. And I can't really anticipate what that is, because if I knew it and everybody else knew it, there would be nothing really special about that fintech startup. So they go out and they build this special thing. And then immediately what happens once they get some traction and people are like, oh yeah, I can get this certain piece of information from your app that I can't get anywhere else. Or maybe it's a social a tool that nobody else has. And it's great. Okay, well, now you need to increase engagement and get people to stay on your platform for more than just that reason, to give them a reason to come more often, to use your tools, maybe to buy something. And so you, as soon as you have in the financial investing research space that special secret tool available, now you need to add all the other research that goes into trading and building portfolios and investing. And most of the trend in the last year has been around building these research tools, and we talked about that with Yuli on the podcast recently, is that everybody's trying to get these professional grade tools into the hands of investors. So if you want your platform to speak to the everyday investor beyond just your secret sauce, you want them to come and learn and do more research, what are the types of data that you're going to end up adding to your platform? So let me just run through a list of these general ideas of data that you're going to want to add. And usually what's happening is they're added along with your secret sauce to give more information, more context, more about what it is that you're teaching your users, the information they came to get, what they came to learn about, the research they came to do. So the first thing I'll mention is stock prices. This is super ubiquitous. Like, everybody who's investing, everybody who's a retail trader needs to know stock prices. It's pretty much across the board. And we have a whole section on the podcast in an earlier episode dedicated to that. So check that out. But this is just like what the cost of a stock is today. Is it up? Is it down? And you can get that data from Intrinio or any number of exchanges. So I suggest you check out that podcast. But the most frequent data set that we get asked for at Intrinio, and that almost every investing site has, is stock prices. It's a very complicated thing, but at the end of the day, it's just, if I'm doing research into a company that I'm considering buying, and the same is true for ETFs. ETFs have a price attached to them. you're going to want to display how much that is up, how much it's down, its historical trend. Usually folks put a graph. You can do a candlestick chart, anything so that an investor can say, all right, what is the stock price right now? What was it yesterday? What was it a year ago? Can I see a graph? Is it up? Is it down? And that is like the first thing that folks will try to add, is because it's updating all the time. It gives the user a reason to come back to your platform, and it gives them that context for like, is this a good investment to make or not? And I mentioned ETFs, so you got to have ETF prices. That's basically included in market data with stock prices. But you might also be interested in mutual funds. That has been getting smaller, but it's still many, many billions of dollars of mutual funds are held in folks' portfolios, and those have net asset values. And then I'll give an honorable mention to crypto. Intrinio has provided crypto over the years, and then it kind of waned, and now it's back. All of a sudden, everybody wants crypto in their portfolio, so that can be a really nice way to differentiate yourself as well. After you have stock prices, the most important data set that a fintech startup needs are fundamentals. They're called fundamentals because they are that important. They're essential. They're fundamental. These are the balance sheets, income statements, and statements of cash flows from the publicly traded companies that your users are doing research on. So once you get the stock price, and maybe you've applied your special algorithm and given some unique information, to do due diligence and research into a company, you want to know what their earnings were, what were their expenses, how many employees do they have. You want to be able to see that stuff over time historically, and that all is mandated in the United States to be filed with the SEC. And I actually had a call today with a stock exchange in another country where that kind of data isn't mandated to be collected, and it actually poses a big problem because if you don't have fundamentals, you really don't know the health or strength of a business, and the SEC mandates that be reported quarterly by public companies, just to give investors insight and a source of truth that the companies are held to the fire. They're liable to make sure that they are reporting fundamentals accurately. They get a lot of trouble if they're not accurate. And it serves as a starting point for basically any research, any analysis into the investing world. So you've got to have fundamentals. The next thing that I would recommend having in your platform, and we get asked for this all the time, are forward estimates of earnings. And these are important because they're kind of magical. If the idea behind them is magical, they don't always work. But the idea is that you need to be able to know, in order to decide if something is a good investment, where are the earnings of that company heading? Are they about to go out of business? Maybe they're going to get regulated into non-existence. And so if we know that there's a cliff coming for their earnings, well, that definitely influences our analysis of that company as a potential investment. Companies that we're partnered with, like Zacks, provide, they poll analysts, professionals, people who do investment work for a living, and they get information and reports from them, asking them, where are the earnings heading for this company? Up, down, flat? And there's a lot of different flavors that can be provided, and we can provide that data. Lots of other companies can provide that data as well, notably TipRanks. They provide these forward estimates of earnings, and if you know anything about finance, you've had any kind of training, you'll know that the most popular way, or one of the most popular ways to value traditionally a stock is called a discounted cash flow analysis, DCF, and that requires some estimate of forward earnings. Your users are going to guess at that. They're trying to figure out, do the research, where that stock is heading based on its earnings, but usually you want to provide them with some professional estimates as well. So another important data set for startups in the portfolio analysis or research space, definitely want to have estimates. The next one, and this goes probably beyond the world of investing in finance, is news. News about companies. This one is incredibly important because news is highly engaging, it's relevant, it updates all the time, and it gives people a reason to come to your platform and get that secret sauce and all this other research that you can provide them, and it gives them a reason to come more often. Like, was there a press release about a company in my portfolio? What about this company that I'm researching that I might want to buy? do they have any recently released news that I could read and maybe learn more about that investment? And news is tricky to provide from a financial standpoint. And the main reason that news is tricky is that when a news story breaks, it's not always tagged conveniently with the ticker that the news story is about, with the security identifier that your users are using to search. Say they're looking for Apple. Well, Apple has lots of different tickers, AAPL, but also trades under different tickers internationally. And if a news story breaks, they're probably going to write APPLE, the word. And so filtering news to get the right news about that stock is challenging, and Intrinio, again, works with partners like Naviga that provide that data and allow you to, on the back end, say, give me only news about companies in this user's portfolio, so that they have something to read and they don't have to go out and scour the internet looking for information. When that information is released basically anywhere, we can alert them and send that to them, and that creates all kinds of beautiful push notifications and alerts that can be created around news. And news goes beyond finance. I mean, everybody, pretty much every fintech platform has some good use for news. So the last thing I'll mention then is options data. And it's not essential if you're not an options platform, but if you're running a business and you want to make money, options is a good way to do it for businesses. We've mentioned this before. Quite a bit of Robinhood's revenue comes from options because they allow you to trade stocks for free. And why do we know that? Because we can read Robinhood's financial statements and we can read their disclosures, which is part of that fundamental data. We know that they're making a lot of money off of options, and options is extremely popular and growing among retail traders. So if you're looking for a way to monetize your platform, options can be a real moneymaker. So in my opinion, some of the most fundamental data sets for fintech startups in the financial analysis and research space are stock prices and other market data, possibly crypto, fundamentals, estimates of earnings, news, and options.